Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is John Vi, and you are here for the first episode of Music Mysteries. Let me just dive into it a little bit about myself. My name is John Vi. As you can see from the title, I'm 25 years old. I'm a musician. I've been on the road a little bit, been on the stage a little bit, now diving a lot more into my songwriting, a lot more into the recording process. And the reason I wanted to start this podcast so I could just share my thoughts about crazy things in music and share my thoughts with what I'm doing inside of my career. I am from Worthington, Ohio. This is where the Music Mystery Studios are located. Let's take a sip of Worthington here. Nice coffee here. And so yeah, we're here in the Music Mystery Studios at my parents' lovely kitchen. And we should just dive into it, guys. Let's get into Frank Sinatra a little bit. So, Frank Albert Sinatra was born December 12th, my birthday also, but he was born in 1915. I wasn't born in 1915. I don't know if you can see, but I am not that old. Sorry, guys. I was born in 1992. Anyways, he was from Hoboken, New Jersey, all right? And, you know, I'm sure that was a very interesting area at the time, and I'm sure it still is. And he was a huge fan of Bing Crosby. Huge fan. He was inspired so much as a teenager here that he took up singing because of Bing. And after that, you know, he was on this crazy ride of, you know, doing the big bands, guys. But this isn't where it gets crazy. Where it really gets crazy is when he signs with Columbia, in my opinion. And this is where this record comes in. This is the greatest hits of his early years, and this is definitely a Columbia record. I can even check it on the back, and it's there. Columbia's there. And let's go through some of these articles here at the Columbia years. So this wonderful website, Britannica.com, I'm going to use here for the first article we're using. The Columbia years, a strike by the American Federation of Musicians against the major record companies curtailed Sinatra's recording output during most of 1943 and 1944. His solo recording career for Columbia Records began in earnest? What? Whatever. All right, so this is just talking about what actual singles he was recording with Columbia. I'm not going to read through all this. You guys can see with the screen capture what I'm looking at here. We have a beautiful picture of him when he was receiving a Thomas Jefferson Award. I'm not exactly sure what that is, but he got it. So congratulations to Frankie. And so that started him off with his single success. And pretty much after that, he was just doing it. He was doing it. And I really want to get into a little more of the mafia part of this, because this is where it gets really creepy, and this is where I think he was probably at some sort of stronghold with his career and his acting and probably his life too. Very personal ties to mafia, in my opinion. So let's just go here to the second article that I have up, and this talks about the scene in The Godfather, in the first Godfather, in one of the first scenes ever. It's a wedding scene, and a character called Johnny Fontaine comes back to visit the Godfather, his Godfather. And, you know, it seems like he has some career problems, we could say at the very least. And you can see with the screen capture here, we do have some comparisons, pretty good comparisons to the character and also Old Blue Eyes Frank Sinatra. So let's just start off with the first one with Johnny Fontaine, who is the fictional character on Godfather. He started the career off as a singer in a band. So did Frankie. And then you got number 2 here. Johnny Fontaine got out of control with band and became a solo artist. Oh, that's interesting. So is Frankie. Ooh. And then what it says here, this is, I just want to cite this real quick. Sorry, guys. And sorry to all the Buckeye fans here in Columbus, but this is from University of upnorth.edu. So it may or may not be may or may not be legit here. Just kidding, guys. So number two on here was became solo artist with help. They say on here for Frankie Sinatra. This may lead to something that maybe he has some sort of backing with the organized crime families, being from Jersey. And I'm not saying that, if you're from Jersey, you have to be a mafioso. I'm just trying to say that during that time, I'm sure there could have been some interesting influences when it comes to that subject. All right. And then let's see here. Number three, Johnny Fontane in the storyline, his voice became weak, and that's why his career plummeted. And then also with Old Blue Eyes, his vocal cords were getting a little messy. I mean, if you're singing that long every single night, maybe a set or two a night, maybe on Saturdays a matinee, you might have some singing problems. You might have some vocal problems, You're going to run into that. An athlete can only run in the NFL for so long. LeBron James can only play for so long. Kobe was only able to play for so long. It's just not your body is an organic material. It's not it's not a Walmart product here where you can just try to keep buying the same thing over and over. This is organic material we're talking about. So Frankie's just a guy, so both of the guys, their careers went I wouldn't say down the dirt. Even Frank, even if he had his problems, had a great career, had a great legacy. And it just seems like you're just going to run into problems when you have when you run with the crazy boys. And so number five here with Johnny Fontane, he received a supporting role in a production that was guaranteed to make him a star again. That sounds a lot like what Frankie was doing. He was doing a lot of acting. He was with the Rat Pack doing stuff. And let's see, with here, he earned supporting role in another movie, From Here to Eternity, Frank Sinatra, that solidified his comeback and won him an Academy Award. That's amazing. But this just it opens up the ideas, guys and gals, to think about something and say that not only could this be kind of a secret through movies for Frank and understanding Frank a little more, but I think also just looking in movies in general. I know that, hold on a sec. I know that when I watch movies, especially when they're based on wars or when they're based on governments or when they're based on certain situations that happened that were a little mysterious, I think the movies really do, they do push the envelope when it comes to secrets. Sometimes these Hollywood guys, I really do think they like to put into the production just a little bit of spice to show what we're missing, to wake people up, to open those eyes, open that eye up. And so this is something very interesting. Godfather is a very good movie. The other movies in I believe the trilogy are very good. But the first one to me is my favorite for sure. Great acting. Obviously, who am I thinking of here? Oh, Marlon Brando. Come here, Johnny. You gotta act like a man. You gotta act like a man. Just beautiful, beautiful acting. And I always knew there was something with that scene and with that character that reminded me way too much of Frankie Sinatra. So that's something to think about. That's definitely something to think about while we're moving on to this. And that's really one of my main points for the podcast, is getting to the fact that there could be some overspill of the Godfather storyline that is of Frank Sinatra. So let's move on to some information about the Rat Pack boys. The Rat Pack, let's see if we can get a list of these guys. So interesting. Rat Pack had a couple of dudes in it along with Frank. One of the most notable would be Sammy Davis Jr., Dean Martin, and then the other two guys that I've really never heard of, but they were there, was Peter Lawford and Joey Bishop. Now, I don't need any bashing in the comments if you guys are huge Rat Pack fans, but when it comes to me, I'm a big Sammy guy and obviously a big Frank guy. So the other two gentlemen, Peter and Joey, maybe were just kind of part of the Backstreet Boys, duo, if you so may choose, when it comes to understanding who these people were. But I just want to take a second to kind of just reflect on the Rat Pack as a music industry thing. I truly think that the Rat Pack was one of the first super groups, just like we see now with we've seen NSYNC or we've seen Backstreet Boys. You know, these guys, you know, 5, 6, or you know, however many guys, they're coming into the industry well known, or they have a lot of backing, a lot of marketing to their music and to their style. And I think when it comes to these guys, that's exactly what was going on. Whoever was behind you know, this band and either managing or producing this band, they knew what was going on. They knew that this was an innovative thing, and they knew that this would either work or it would not work. And I think the reasons it wouldn't work, if it didn't work, would just be for money, because I think all these guys had a lot of fan base already. And I think the only reason would be the budgeting and, you know, maybe substances or, you know, personal issues getting in the way of their performing. But yeah, this is interesting, along with the Godfather stuff. And let's see here. So I also want to talk about the name, the Rat Pack. I would say, for me, just my opinion, and a lot of this podcast is opinionated, and you know, with future episodes, I will bring in friends of mine, mostly, you know, musicians, and even friends of mine that are non-musicians. I want to get people on here that have a musician mindset, and also someone who's not a music player and is not thinking about music all the time. I do want to bring them in to talk about these issues, because there's some crazy shit in music industry. And you know, even some of the, you know, higher up famous people, they probably got some sketch going on. So with the Rat Pack, with the name, I would say you know, they have these reasons why they called it that. There's one story here that I believe it was maybe Humphrey Bogart that came in. Here it is. Where's Humphrey at? Oh man, where was that? Anyways, it was kind of like a Motley Crue situation where they walked in and say, "Whoa, you know, you guys look like a pack of rats. You look like a Motley Crue going on." So I think it had a lot to do with maybe their look or how they were hanging out and stuff. But no, I think it was one of two things. I think it was either it was an experiment, kind of like a lab rat pack. So the Rat Pack, lab rats. So kind of an experimental group for the industry, because I don't think we've seen a lot of huge big band guys that would form together, and that was interesting. So maybe that was why they called the Rat Pack, or it was because they were backed by the mafia and they knew something, and they had to maybe give a percentage to the mafia. Obviously, we all know that they were very famous in Vegas. A lot of their shows were in Vegas. I believe the hotel and the casino was called the Sands. And if we can get a picture of the Sands, I don't know if that's on here. Nope. Let's get it up. Anyways, that was definitely the heyday, in my opinion, of Vegas. I've been to Vegas only once, so I really can't say for myself, you know, when there was a heyday of Vegas. But I will say, here we go. This is the demolishment, it looks like. But, you know, obviously the design was very interesting. I can't really tell. Here we go. So, yeah, that looks pretty dang cool. Pretty dang cool, guys. And so that's a little retro Vegas. Obviously on the sign it says Gallagher. That's interesting. And anyways, yeah, so they were kind of part of that mafia heyday of Vegas. They were kind of part of that era of Vegas where there was shit going on because of the mafia. They were controlling it all, and it seemed like there was a lot more, you know, freedom for the entertainment that they were able to do. And I really think, you know, that's another idea to think about when it comes to the name of the Rat Pack. You know, thinking about, oh, maybe maybe they owed the mafia. Maybe they stepped in one day and said, "Hey, this is our turf. You need to show us tax, or you need to, give us a percentage." Or maybe they knew too much, so they're the Rat Pack. If they ever say something, I mean, there is a picture of these guys. I know you guys saw it on the screenshot earlier, but they look a little scared. I mean, I know Sammy's smiling, but I don't know. If I was taking a picture that looked like that, I don't know if I was happy. I mean, okay, you're either, being threatened by the mafia in this picture, or you're in a metal band. I mean, they're in some kind of, like, look at Frankie and then look at these two guys, and it's just like, okay, they're either in a metal band or someone's threatening them. So, my opinion, that's an interesting picture. Just right there, that's something to think about when it comes to the Rat Pack and what that means, actually. So, let's dive into a little bit of the Rat Pack era days with Frank. Going on Wiki real quick, Wikipedia. I know it's not the best site for things, but it will give me a couple tidbits to talk about during the podcast. And so Rat Pack years. Let's just stay on this page, guys. I'm thinking this is going to be a lot better. Let's just read through a couple of these and see if there's interesting stuff to talk about. Originally, the Rat Pack was a group of friends centered around the group's leader, Humphrey Bogart. Interesting. The original members included Errol Flynn, Nat King Cole, Mickey Rooney, Jerry Lewis, and Cesar Romero. I had no idea. That this was actually a different group. This is interesting. I didn't know Nat King Cole was part of the pack. Interesting. And we got a picture of Humphrey. And then, so it talks a little more about, where maybe the origin of it came from. So nobody really knows. So just think about it, guys. Brainstorm. I think your opinion is better than, sometimes what the history says, because who knows? History might be wrong. History is only written from the winners, correct? Or it's written from somebody. Could be written from a book company. They could just make it up. Who knows? So here's another one. In Las Vegas, when a member of the Rat Pack would be scheduled for a performance, the rest of the Rat Pack would turn up for an impromptu show. The multi-talented performers sold out almost all of their performances, and visitors would stream into Las Vegas, often sleeping in their cars if they couldn't find rooms. Hotel casino marquees were known to tease the Rat Pack's appearances. For example, the Sands marquee read, Dean Martin, maybe Frank, maybe Sammy. I really like that. That's real cool. You don't, when it comes to concerts, it seems like that really was, the first, at least when it comes to that region, that was really the first big music group. Especially for Vegas, and I think it helped Vegas for these guys to perform. So I think it does go back to the mafia connection here. Oh, and here's something about Dean. Kind of sad, though. Dean Martin's son, Dean Paul Martin, died in a plane crash in 1987. Oh, my goodness. This is an interesting link. And then Frank Sinatra's mother was killed in a plane crash 10 years earlier on the same exact mountain. What? Okay, now we're going back to the mafia connection again. Holy hell, guys. I didn't even read this last night when I was researching. Woo! Oh my God. So let me read that again. Dean Martin's son died in a plane crash in 1987 on the San Gorgonio, I said that wrong, mountains in California. So California mountains, died in 1987, plane crash. Then Frankie's mother was killed in a plane crash 10 years before that on the same exact mountain. Okay. You're seeing my reaction live, ladies and gentlemen. I can't even drink this coffee right now. This is weird. This is straight up weird. Now, I'm a big conspiracy guy. I'm a big, mystery guy. I like to think about something when it's on the news or when it's in a book or when it's in a biography. I like to think about that. That stuff's I don't know if that's a coincidence or not. especially when we have these connections with organized crime, and you never know what these people knew, and you never know if they had tokened, not token, excuse me, if they had put these family members up as kind of a thing, as kind of like, oh, if you're not getting that, quick meal for us, we're taking out Polly, we're taking out your boy. So oh my gosh, I mean, it could have been a coincidence. Maybe it's a nice area in California. Maybe it's a very famous. Let's look it up here. Let's see if this is like a really heavy trafficked place. We could cut down some conspiracy talk real quick. Cutting down time, didn't want to. Oh. Let's see. So, yeah, I mean, beautiful area. Someone's golfing here. Wow, beautiful, beautiful spot. Looks like it's a very hiked area. I guess with the right conditions, it could be really sketchy, especially if it was, a Cessna or something that was very, that probably could hit some turbulence. I don't know much about planes. I've only, ridden commercial flights, so I really don't know about private Cessnas or any of those smaller ones. But gosh, man, it doesn't look like Everest. But you never know. These areas could collect a lot of. See, look at that. You could be getting some cloud cover, and you never know. But that's a weird thing to think about. All right, so let's get back to the Rat Pack. That's interesting. So something about Sammy real quick. Among the Rat Pack, Sammy Davis Jr.'s nickname was Smokey. While not commonly known, he was an accomplished quick draw artist. When Davis was denied entry into the whatever that is, Sinatra used his clout to ensure he got in the next time. When Davis wasn't allowed to stay in the Las Vegas hotel where he was performing, Sinatra helped Davis sidestep the racist practices so prevailed in Las Vegas at the time, excuse me. So that's interesting too, and I think that's something to think about and something to reflect on, is that this was also one of the first, along with Nat King Cole being in kind of the entry of the Rat Pack. I think Sammy being in this group also opened up a lot of I wouldn't say racial tension at the time, but I would say racial breakthrough in saying that it's not black and white. It's artist and artist. It's music and music. Music is not based on your skin. Music is not based on your how much money you have or how much your background or heritage is. Now that helps. That you may have a musical talent in your family or something like that. But I truly believe that you are your own person and you can make your own future, and it should not matter your race or heritage at all, guys, at all. And we still deal with it today with all the things going on, but definitely this time, this era, this was huge. And I think if you were someone in that audience, you'd be flabbergasted, I think, especially at the era of everything. And here's something interesting about Dean real quick. I know I'm getting way off topic with not talking about Frank all the time, but I did want to get into Rat Pack as well, so maybe I'll add that to the title just so everybody knows, hey, it's not just about Frankie. And so this one is interesting. Rat Pack member Dean Martin would often deal blackjack at the Vegas casinos. That would be pretty awesome to get a couple cards from Dean. And then some people know this, some people don't, but Ocean's 11 in our era was Brad Pitt, George Clooney. Who else was in that? Oh my goodness. You guys will help me out. But that wasn't the original. I think a lot of people know that. And the original Ocean's 11 had Frank and had everybody else in there, had all five. And obviously Sinatra was the original, was Danny Ocean there. And I'd actually love to go back and watch that. I loved our era's Ocean 11. That was fucking hilarious. Don Cheadle, sorry. Don Cheadle was on the new one too. I remember that scene where he's trying to blow up a bank, and then Brad Pitt comes and saves him. Oh my god! And they put a bomb right under the right, or a flare or something right under the cop car. Oh my god, so funny. Um, anyways, and then looks like they did a couple movies together. All the Rat Pack, which is a great deal. I think that also helped when it came to seeing what a group like that could do. You see that now with musicians where, once they get credibility and say if the music industry doesn't like what they're doing anymore, they do have that option to go into Hollywood and to go into those movies or into those shows. And I think that's great. You look at, let's see here, weird example would be LL Cool J. Not weird example, but LL Cool J is on, I believe, one of the NCIS shows. So, someone like him played at the Super Bowl halftime show, big name, and, he decided to switch industries, which I think is fantastic. Whatever you want to do, whether it's movies, music, even if it's not entertainment, you're teaching, you're driving a bus, you're driving a truck, you're, working as a farmer, dude, great. As long as you're happy, keep it up. That's really what it's about. And I think something to take out of this, especially for Rat Pack, it seemed like these guys were happy, and if they weren't, they should have gotten out. And if they weren't able to get out, maybe we'll know why, and that's maybe because of the mafia connections. But gosh, this one thing is still killing me. The plane crashes. Whew, that's really hitting here. Oh my goodness. Wow, that should be a lot bigger of a thing here. Number 10. Gosh, that should be number 1. Excuse me. And but yeah, the Dean Martin and the Frank's mother, that is really, I have never heard that ever. So that almost kind of creeps me out. I'm still kind of shooken by that information. And but yeah, so the last time they were at least Sinatra, Martin, and Davis were together in a movie was called Cannonball Run 2. Not sure if anybody is an oldie fan with the movies, but let me know if it's good and I'll check it out. The Rat Pack recorded 5 live albums, guys, at the I believe, I don't know if it was all at the Sands, but one of them was live at the Sands, Rat Pack. And yeah, that's interesting stuff. And I think without the Rat Pack, I don't know how if we would have really heard like huge names from these guys. I think the Rat Pack really made Sammy, especially with his post Rat Pack. Sinatra was already big before that, and then Dean was, I believe, big before that. But I think all 3 guys, and then the other 2 guys, Joey Bishop and Peter Lawford, don't know too much about those guys, but I'm sure they were very big names before and during the Rat Pack days. And yeah, I think something is interesting about this, and you kind of wonder what kind of stronghold personally that maybe the mob had on these 5 guys, especially being entertainers, and you can control. It's good to control information through the entertainment, i.e. news sources, i.e. movies, i.e. radio programs. It's a lot easier to control the information that you want when you have the good entertainers in front of the audiences. And I did see something here. Okay, wow. We might have a Kennedy connection, ladies and gentlemen. Woo! This gets real deep. Woo! All right. So we got another one here on the what is this website? VitalVegas.com. Thank you guys. Vital Vegas. So number 8 on this article is Peter Lawford, and this is one of the, I wouldn't say no-name guys in the Rat Pack, but definitely one of the guys that I've never heard of, unfortunately, with the Rat Pack. And so Peter Lawford was JFK's brother-in-law. That's interesting. And Kennedy would sometimes hang out with the Rat Pack in Vegas. That's interesting. And when they did, they referred to themselves as the Jack Pack. Wow. This is really crazy. A falling out between Sinatra and the Kennedys about Sinatra's links to the mob got Peter Lawford booted from the group. Huh. Wow, so I thought there was just a mob connection. There is a government connection here. Wow. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Wow. I'm flush, ladies and gentlemen. I am flush. So Peter Lawford, let's just go over this again. JFK's brother-in-law. He would come, JFK would fly to Vegas, or, maybe he would bike from DC. I don't know. He was athletic. Who knows? And but he'd hang out with the Rat Pack, called him the Jack Pack when he was there. And I think what's amazing about that is I've always wondered who was really behind the assassination of JFK. And this looks very interesting towards the mob here. And, I'm not calling anybody out. I'm not saying anybody did what, but gosh, just some of these statements here on the sites. Wow, this is opening up a lot of information. It's going way off of just Frankie's story, but oh my God. So this could be opening up something with JFK as well in our episode here. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. I can't believe that. So the government connection was Peter Lawford, and you kind of wonder if the mob did that maybe on purpose, or maybe they knew he was a connection to JFK and wanted to bring him in. But it seems like sorry, I'm getting way off track with this one. Falling out between Sinatra and the Kennedys about Sinatra's links to the mob got Peter. So yeah, it seems like Sinatra wasn't cool with having a quote unquote a Kennedy in the band, because Lawford, I guess, being a brother-in-law to JFK, that's a Kennedy. I'm going to count that as a Kennedy. I'm going to count you as a Kennedy, Lawford. And wow. Holy poopy. This is amazing. Wow. So, yeah, so Sinatra, or maybe even the mob, maybe through Sinatra, the mob said, hey, get this guy out of here because he's going to start telling stuff. Wow. I am shocked. I'm almost speechless, guys. I apologize for not being able to talk a little too much more about this during the first episode, but holy crap. So this opens up not just Rat Pack, but this opens up some JFK government shit. We're getting real, guys. So on a lighter note, and I'll definitely go back to the Lawford stuff before we finish up here on this episode. But I did want to touch on this because I knew Frank and I knew the boys loved to have a good party. Being in Vegas, that's what it's all about, right? And so there is a statement here from VitalVegas.com, and it says that Frank Sinatra once ordered 300 Bloody Marys. That's right, 300 Bloody Marys from room service for a Rat Pack party. Now that is a Rat Pack party. Not the biggest fan of Bloody Marys. I'm sorry. It's just the tomato. You got to leave that in the soup, guys. I'm sorry, but I'll take the booze in it. That's a lot of booze. That's a lot of Bloody Marys. And, there might have been 100 people in there. You never know, those kind of parties, but I'm guessing it was probably not that many, because that would only be 3 per guest. So, but yeah, that's something to think about too. You had a lot of parties, so you never know who was there, whether it was a celebrity or it was Jackie Kennedy himself. So, this goes deeper than I thought. That's what she said. But, whoa, man, too crazy for a Wednesday. Too crazy for a Wednesday. This is intense. Wow. Whew. I'm still shocked on the Peter Lawford. I'm gonna go a little bit off topic so I can embrace the storyline here. I do want to look up Lawford real quick. The JFK connection. I actually had no idea this was legit, so I would have done a lot more research last night if I knew this. Um, oh wow, he might have even known about Marilyn Manson or Marilyn Monroe. Sorry, Marilyn Manson. Beautiful people, the beautiful people. No, Marilyn Monroe. So this could be a connection with all of these people. So you never know if Monroe was maybe out in Vegas with the Jack Pack and doing some part of that 300 Bloody Mary crew parties. But wow, this opens up a can of worms that I don't know if I can fish with. This is some crazy stuff. But it says here that this is I don't know if this is someone's personal site. Okay, so BarryBradford.com. Thank you, Barry. Going to use a little bit of information that you have here. So part of the article says that Dean Martin. Oh no, here we go. Yeah. Dean Martin was a top-selling singer and occasionally effective actor. Sammy Davis Jr.'s talents were off the chart. Why did Peter Lawford become a member? He was a middling movie actor at best. And the last sentence here, and I'll obviously put it on screenshot, but the answer is that he had married John F. Kennedy's sister. So maybe it's a coincidence that we didn't know about these other two people, along with who's our other buddy that we don't know about? Peter and who's our group here? Peter and Joey Bishop. So Peter Lawford was the guy connected with JFK, his sister. And then Joey Bishop was also another person that I'm really not keen to. So real quick, I'm going to look up Joey Bishop to see if maybe he was also someone who has connections to something interesting. Joey Bishop was real quick. Looks like he was a television guy. So maybe it was just another big face. We needed a fifth face. We needed somebody in there that knew what was going on. Wow. Let's see here. Just through Wikipedia, I'm just going to do a quick one. American entertainer who appeared on television early as 1948. Eventually starred in his own weekly comedy series, playing a talk show host, and later hosted a late-night talk show with none other than Regis Philbin. Whoa, that's crazy. And that was on ABC channel. He later became a member of the Rat Pack. No duh, I'm on that. And so he was definitely someone else that had a legit career. That seems like somebody that there's a reason he needs to be there. He's a face. I don't see anything when it comes to music though. So that makes me kind of weary of how he actually got there. Other than being a famous talk show guy and a famous entertainer, that's interesting too. So it seems like those other two guys might have just been kind of the industry faces. And but wow, this is interesting about Peter Lawford. Very interesting. And so it seems like at the very end of this, we might have some really, really big mob connections, guys. And it may even go all the way up to JFK. It may go all the way up to having somebody in the Rat Pack that was essentially a Kennedy. And I really don't know if Frankie was the least of their worries. And I always thought Frankie was the guy that was kind of the mob. I wouldn't say puppet. I'm not going to say puppet, but, mob, helped him. And that's for sure, and at least when it comes to I think his solo career, I think it really had to do not a lot with the mob. He was, I think, in my opinion, a great talent and, great singer. And I think for a lot of people, a very influential person. And at the very least, a cool guy to look up to and say that was an interesting little dude. But yeah, you always wonder, especially with this picture again. I'm throwing back the kind of the metal faces they have, kind of and I don't know. It just, you look at some of these guys, other than really Sammy and kind of Dean smirking a little bit, but yeah, I don't know. I think with Sammy, this was something because I'm a huge Sammy Davis guy, being that uh, I've seen interviews and I've seen videos of him where he'll get up on stage with his band and he'll go from singing to piano, play the piano melodies, play the piano solos, and then, which I really love because I'm a drummer, I play a lot of live drums. He goes up and plays drum set too, and I think he also does a solo, and it was breathtaking. And it's one of those things where you don't see that often today. Even I think bands like Dead Weather do that currently, and maybe some other bands that'll kind of go switcheroo. I'm sure especially with with Foo Fighters, you see Grohl. He was the Nirvana drummer, so now he went switcherooed and was able to do other things, singing, guitar, songwriting. That's amazing, and that's what I think Davis was able to prove with his Rat Pack days and post Rat Pack days. But just this picture alone is actually very eerie still, and it's almost like they're looking right at me saying, like, you need to tell these guys what's up. You need to tell the future people what happened, and kind of warn. In my opinion, it's kind of a warning to industry, and kind of saying, we're in this realm of independence right now where we have the websites, we have the freedom to post our music, our movies, our snippets, our pictures, whatever you're working on that's a professional thing or just a hobby. It's gonna be important, and someone's gonna like it. If one person likes it, the whole world is gonna like that. So I think bottom line with these guys, starting this podcast just a couple minutes ago, I thought Frankie was the mob guy. I thought Frankie brought the mob. But I'll be honest, I think the combination of Frankie and also Peter Lawford having the government JFK connection, woo, that's all I gotta say. Holy bars. That is amazing. So I've learned a lot with just looking at these articles, and some of this podcast might be really quiet just because I had to kind of take a minute to review what exactly I'm reading. But this might go deeper than just than the Frank Sinatra story I was trying to tell today. And let's just say I learned a crap ton just from looking at this vitalvegas.com site. Definitely, this picture is still creeping me out, guys. I really need to look up something else real quick. So yeah, let's go back to the Godfather thing right before I finish up, and we'll wrap up from the first episode here. I do want to let's read a little bit of this guy's article talking about the Godfather connection with Frankie. And so Mario Puzo, who was the author of the Godfather book, which I'm a huge fan of as well. I think the book is better. And I know everybody says that, oh, bro, they didn't put my favorite part of the story. Yeah. We get it. So for me, what I enjoyed about the book over the movie of Godfather was the fact that you saw, with the movies, you saw it in a certain order. But with the Godfather book, it's all in there in one book. So I believe it might have been the first two movies were all in the book. So you kind of had this whole storyline laid out a little better than the movies. But it's Hollywood, guys. It's production, it's marketing. And, it was De Niro. De Niro was in the second one. Come on. Who you talking to? So here we go. So Mario Puzo opened the novel The Godfather with a quote from Balzac that read, wait, what? Balzac. That's an interesting name. Anyways, the quote reads, "Behind every great fortune, there is a crime." Wow. I like that quote a lot. So it just it makes you think about what we were talking about earlier about Vegas, early Vegas days, Sands Hotel and Casino, just Frank in general. Now, I'm not saying that, I'm not going to call out Frank himself that he was a criminal, but I think was help from criminal people. And I'm going to say it too. I think people in industries are, they're legal criminals. They're able to put it on paper and saying that you said yes, or you said, I agree. So I think in today's world, we're dealing with, a lot of industries now, especially Hollywood, especially in movies and TV shows and music. We got some really snipey snakes out there. And, I think, it was no different, 100 years ago when it came to the industry. There were still, I think the mob was controlling industry then. And now we have kind of a new style of mob now. Don't think that just because they're not wearing fedoras and striped suits that they're not the mob. Now we're just dealing with paper pushing mob. So, and lawyers backing it. So I like that quote. Behind every great fortune, there is a crime. And I think that also goes back to what we talked about with Peter and his connections with JFK, and how it ended up being the fact that Peter Lawford ended up getting kicked out of the Rat Pack because of his JFK connections. And that makes you think that the mob maybe had some information about what JFK was wanting to do with the mob. And maybe that was a direct result of what happened with Peter Lawford. And maybe him and his brother and the Kennedys, they wanted to, not maybe by way of the Lawford breakup, but also by way of just maybe being in with the Rat Pack. Maybe JFK knew too much, kind of like with these other guys. Maybe they saw too much. Maybe, living in Vegas, living behind the scenes, maybe they saw too much stuff with the mob, and maybe, one too many guys got a little crazy at one of those Jack Pack parties or those Rat Pack parties. That's, 300 Bloody Marys. That's a hell of a lot of Bloody Marys, guys. And they were probably some heavy Marys, and, yeah, you never know what words slipped and what people might have seen. Maybe Marilyn Monroe was in a room with somebody and somebody snuck a peek and, hey, you got to go, dude. You know too much. It's a crazy world out there, ladies and gentlemen. It's a crazy world. So, man, let's get something to finish up here. I also want to express that, every episode beyond this, I'd like to bring in a guest, which will be either, a good music friend of mine or just a good friend of mine that, I just want to chat about crazy music shit with. So, yeah, let's find something a little more positive to end on, because this stuff is creeping me out. Let's do something about Frankie real quick and about his legacy. Britannica, I'm going to read something here. This is a critic's quote about his legacy. Sinatra, Gene Lees was the gentleman who was the critic here. I believe maybe he was maybe a music critic or a movie critic. I'm not sure. It doesn't say here, but his quote says, Sinatra learned how to make a sophisticated craft sound as natural as intimate conversation or personal confession. So obviously that's about his singing. I would definitely agree with that. I think especially when you have a vinyl or just, you're on YouTube checking out some of his stuff, there's something about his music, and whether he was writing his own words or whether someone was in the studio writing for him or something like that, because that happens today in the pop industry and every other part of the music industry. But there's something about his soulfulness. You can't write that. You can't go in the studio and write a song for somebody and say, sing it soulfully, please. No. This guy knew how to sing. This guy loved doing it. And he loved doing it. But I think there was a certain time, especially with the Rat Pack and especially with the Vegas days, that he had some concerns. And I think even before that, he had some concerns about who was helping him out and who had his back. And I think The Godfather really shows that. I think that scene in The Godfather is Frank Sinatra. I think The Godfather, that intro, and where he goes into the wedding and is singing for everybody, I think that really was the character of Frank Sinatra. And I think, like I'm saying earlier, Hollywood, I think they like to kind of window wash certain issues and window wash certain things and say that, oh, well, it's just a movie. That didn't really happen that way. It's just a movie. Well, I really like thinking that, not like thinking, but I really do believe that there was a mob connection to Frank Sinatra. And I think it shows in the styles of music. It shows in the industry, part of industry he was. And I don't think he would have been in Vegas with the Rat Pack if he wasn't part of the mob connection. I think there's a huge force with the mob, and I think there's also a huge force with the government now that we know about Peter Lawford's connection with JFK's family. And I guess the last thing to think about before I sign off would be, make sure to have your own opinion, guys and gals. I think the worst thing to do is take the opinions of other people and don't agree with them and just keep that throughout your life. I think you need to challenge everything. I think you need to think for yourself. If you think that Johnny Fontaine from the Godfather scene is Frank Sinatra, then look that shit up and say for yourself that maybe Frank Sinatra really was controlled by certain people and the Rat Pack really wasn't what it was. So just think for yourself, guys and gals. Have a great week. We got UFC coming up this weekend. Stipe and Francis are battling out for the heavyweight championship. We got some beautiful football games on, and we're going to have a great time together with this Music Mystery Podcast, guys. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And until next time, stay cool.